So, hello everyone and welcome back to another build episode. I think this one is 24? Yeah, I think it's 24. Might be 25 though. And if you haven't seen any of the other ones, you might want to go check them out because that is the whole episode of building this whole van. Cabinets, kitchen, bed, whatnot, insulation. Go check the card up in the card up here because it's all interesting and you'll love it, and make sure you subscribe while you're at it. But anyway, this specific video is about flooring. Now, I was just going to wait for the flooring. I was looking on Facebook Marketplace just like until something cheap or free nearby came up. Unless I really need to get it done, I'm quite like that. I'll just keep looking until a good deal comes up. And well, I didn't even have to look. The neighbour had some leftover laminate flooring. He's got a whole brand new packet, and well, all of this, the sheets there, and there's 2 sheets on the floor. I can pretty much do the whole of the floor with just the offcuts, and then I might have to break 1 or 2 of the packet that's underneath the van at the moment. It acts a bit like a shed in there. And yes, I'm wearing a coat even though it's 10 o'clock and I had the heater on, because literally in like half an hour to an hour it just dropped from 20 degrees to 14 degrees because it's so cold outside at the moment. But anyway, this flooring, oh, it even has a date. Anyway, I've never installed this before. I don't know. I didn't ask the neighbour who gave it to me because I wasn't thinking at the time. I've just watched 2 videos. Some guy I don't know, and then YouTube install laminate flooring, and you don't seem to have to screw it or glue it down. You just kind of put it down. Now that'll be alright for the sliding door because I plan to put some trim and that'll like squash it, sandwich it down. For the edge up against the kitchen, I'm not sure how well that's going to work, because if you take a look down here, there's 2 sheets here like I said, and when you start clipping them together they kind of want to turn round like kind of bow. Get in there. So look, you see that lifts up, and when you do that, that one's kind of lifted up a bit. So what I might have to do is put like 2 little tiny nails in each corner of this one. So this is going to be installing laminate flooring with no experience and only 2 videos experience. So yeah, what I'm going to do I think is alternate them so they look a bit, you know, nicer and they like structural rigidity and stuff. So that'll be like a tiny square over there, and I'll have to do a little square over here. So what I've got to do, which I'm not going to film because it's not really to do with flooring, is I've got to raise this door. So what I did is I put some 6mm ply all the way around to cover like where the OSB met the batten with the screws in, and then the tongue and groove. So I just kind of neatened it up by putting a bit of 6mm ply. And basically, yeah, it's 6mm, and this flooring's about 8 to 10mm. It's about 8mm, but you know, you want some room for the door. You don't want it scraping along the floor. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to take the 6mm off the top, because I don't want to cut the door down. I'm going to take the 6mm off the top, put it on the bottom, so then you get 12mm on the bottom and nothing on the top of the door, which I just got to deal with. It'll be fine. And that'll raise the door 6mm, which means I've got to take the hinges off and raise them 6mm. So yeah, so I'll do that and then I'll get back to you once I've done that. So, oh, it's very bright, isn't it? So on the, like, because it's like tongue and groove kind of, you got an end that looks like that with a big overhang of like MDF stuff. Then you got like an indent on the other side where that goes over, but there's also this small little edge you can see that's slightly different. And what I'm starting with that side, but when you butt it up against the kitchen you could see it. So what I've done is I got a knife and I cut that back so it's just ending at the veneer. This bit I can't use because it's like tongue and groove, but it has like the tongue and groove stuff, the overlap stuff at the edges as well as the lengths. So this one doesn't have either, so I can't use this because it couldn't clip in either side. And then I've cut a small square, and then I've put a new sheet in here as well, and then I've got obviously the same cut to make this side, but I don't have like any small offcuts that have the correct edge to overlap onto there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break into a new one, and then that offcut is going to be, well, a very big offcut, and that should fit in the next row, and then it should kind of alternate them. Rather than having big, tiny, big, tiny, big, tiny, it should like really variate so it looks really random, which I think would look even better. The door I've done, and it's even smoother than before. You can just let it and it will shut itself, which never used to happen because it always used to catch at the bottom, and now it doesn't. So I'm very happy with the door. It's better than it originally was. The good thing also with doing this, and these have been sat out under the van in the damp, is that because you need to, a lot of people account for the shrinking and expansion by adding a centimetre around the outside. Now, as these have been outside, and when I collected them from the neighbour, they were also outside, so these, and it's winter, these have collected as much water as they possibly ever will, and I can't imagine with them being MDF and stuff and all interlocking that they're not going to expand and shrink that much. But if it does reach the summer, or when they've got the heater on and they do shrink a bit, well, they're going to shrink, they're not going to expand, so you're not going to, I don't have to leave a centimetre around the edge. Whereas if you're doing this in the summer and it's going to be winter, you may have to think about that. I don't know what would happen if they expanded and you haven't left a gap. They might start to warp a bit, I don't know, but that's just what people have said. Well, what a couple of people said from the 2 videos I watched. I'm going to get cutting the next one. I'm just using my chop saw, and it seems to be working fine. Well, I only did the 1 cut, so yeah, let's move on. It's now been 2 days since I did the flooring. It was the day before yesterday that I actually did it, and I'm sorry that it was a time lapse. I don't like doing time lapses because I know they are a bit boring to watch, if I'm honest. I'd rather a nice montage, or just a montage without sound even, that shows what you're doing, because a time lapse is just crap. Even if you do a montage and then the time lapse of the repetitiveness, just nice. But yeah, I had to do it because I couldn't think about filming and the flooring, because I'd never done the flooring before and I had one go at it pretty much, so I just wanted to get it right. I'd never really, I watched 2 videos that morning, that was it. So yeah, I'm really glad I started with the kitchen edge, because if I hadn't, obviously the doors and drawers overlap, so I wouldn't have been able to get the last piece in, because the last piece was like 3 centimetres thick. So I'm glad I left that for the step, and I'll show you it because I did a really nice job, like around the bulkhead where it angles behind the door there. So it's clipped together really well and it looks really nice, and I'm really proud of it. I only really had to cut a couple of the bits, and I used my miter saw for the cutting and a jigsaw for the long edges. I only had to do 2 confusing cuts. One was around the bench seat because they didn't quite line up, and another was like I say, around the bulkhead bit. But other than that, it was literally just some straight cuts, and well, yeah, of course it's not square. The bed frame isn't square to the kitchen and the bench, so I'm guessing the bed gets narrower at the foot end because it's quite off square, and I cut the first few square, so you can kind of see a bit of a back gap, but I may put some trim along there and down the side of the seat. So sorry for the noise if you can hear the heaters. We've just been on a drive and I thought I'd blast the heaters through to warm it up in there without using the diesel heater. So I had a couple of bits of pallet wood here covering the diesel tank and 1 bit on the other side, and I need a wider lens because I live in a van, but oh well. And basically I took them off because I wanted the drawers, because there's going to be 2 drawers here, to go flat up against the floor, and they wouldn't be able to do that if I would have had these bits that were already on here cut around the floor, so I had to take them off. But what I'm thinking is I'm going to make a little level for the diesel heater tank by cutting a little slit and putting a light under it with a little switch. I think that'll look really nice. Another thing which you probably won't be able to see in camera, but this was another tricky bit. Although it looks like a square probably to you, it's not. Like I say, the bed frame isn't quite square, so I had to cut it widthways, sorry, that way, and then I also had to cut that at a weird angle. You can probably hear the heaters quite a lot now because you're a bit closer. So here's where I cut out the seat, as you can see, and then I'm not too happy with this bit either, because this, you can't actually see it, but this bit of pallet wood is thicker than this one, and I've left a gap down there. So a bit of a mistake there, but again, I may put some trim down there and you never see it. So the last one that I'm very proud of is this one here, because even the angle we did messed up a bit here and the bit of toe and groove sticks out, and I even cut round that little bit of toe and groove. and I've gotta say it looks perfect. There's a couple of bits of white, as you can see, where I've not cut the vinyl correctly, but really, to be honest, you can't really see it. And then these two bits are separate, as you can kind of see here, because it was what was left, and they're not joined properly, as you can see, because eventually there'll be a bit of trim across there. I think I've got bits of trim that will work, but I need to check and see if we can do that. So I hope you learned something if this was also your first time installing laminate flooring, and I hope you do it in your van, because it is really good. I'm not going to do it for the garage area because it is quite heavy, and this van is getting quite heavy, to be honest, with the pallet wood and stuff. So I'm thinking about weight. I may do lino, or I may just varnish the floor to kind of protect it, but I'm not sure yet. Anyway, if you did like the video, you got to make sure you hit that like button. Yeah, you have to. And make sure you subscribe and drop a comment down below, because I love to speak to you all. And hit that notification bell while you're down there, and I'll see you next week, or maybe in my in between videos. See you then.